So yesterday I might have done a thing, and by done something, I mean drop a lot of money. And that money might have been spent on an entire bag of acrylic yarn. Now, picking up 12, 15 balls of acrylic yarn can really only mean one thing here on this channel. I'll give you a second to formulate your guesses. If you haven't realized by now, or if you're new here to my channel, buying copious amounts of acrylic yarn means that I'm about to come out of my tufting retirement. I say that jokingly because I've really only tufted like 3 separate times, but the minute I started tufting, I fell in love with it immediately. I literally just pulled this out of the basement because this has been stored away in a moving box pretty much an entire year. But we're breaking the bad boy out today because, as you guys probably know at this point, I have been doing a lot of outdoor markets here in Boston where I like to sell my hand-dyed yarns and like other things. And then my really amazing friend Joanna encouraged me to get back into tufting because I could tuft a lot of smaller pieces such as like coasters, or I'm even thinking like some smaller wall art decor things that people can like put up on their walls, or I don't know, just use as like art around their home. Yeah, the last time I tufted anything was about a year ago, so I figured we might as well jump back into it. Now, as I've just clearly stated, I haven't tufted anything in I think a little bit over a year, so I kind of need to like ease back into it because it's definitely a skill that needs to be like repolished. But I figure that it's like riding a bike. Once I get like a few small projects in, I'll be zooming at the pace that I was at before. At the same time though, my next market is a week from today. First thing being, I need to string up the canvas onto this wooden frame. Now this frame is really special because from far, it just looks like wood. But up close, we have a bunch of these like little spiky nubs, which are actually quite dangerous. The amount of times that I have poked myself and cut myself just trying to like touch this frame is low-key daunting. But I need to get the canvas stretched onto this, make sure that it's nice and taut. I also need to draw on a few of the designs that I plan on making. As you guys just saw, I spent like the last day or so caking up all of the yarns just because it's a lot easier for me to tuft when the yarn comes out of a cake versus out of the skein. First time tufters don't tuft from the skein. It's gonna make it harder than it needs to be. I think I have close to 20 different colors. I just wanted to have different options available. And I think I'm ready now to set up the tufting gun. This is kind of like a blast from the past. So here is the tufting gun that I like to use. I will leave info here on screen for those that are interested, just because whenever I post tufting videos, I get a lot of questions on the model and kind of like the basic steps on how to use it. I had something else to show you guys. Yesterday, I also thought it would be really smart of me to trace out some coasters on like a cardboard box. So I cut out 2 different circles just to make life a little bit easier. I can use this as like a stencil, trace it onto my fabric over there instead of trying to like guess what a perfect circle would look like. And then I also thought this would come in handy when it comes time to cut out the rubber backing. Just like small tips and tricks that I've kind of learned the last few times that I've tufted. I'm going to trace out a few of the coasters right now onto my fabric, and then from there I can kind of like go in with a pen and like outline in detail where I want my different colors and transitions to be. I don't plan on like tufting a whole piece today. I think what's important for me is just getting my toes wet, dipping them in the water a little bit, getting familiar with the craft again. So hopefully if I can just get like 2 coasters done today, I'll be proud of myself and I'll be happy. So now that I have the first coaster kind of outlined in place, I do want to make sure that I'm leaving enough room between all of the coasters, because we have to have some fabric that we can cut and then glue onto the backside. So I don't want to place them like right next to each other, maybe about an inch, inch and a half. Same thing, I need to place it like an inch and a half away from the little pokies at the top. Just giving myself some extra allowance. Almost forgetting how to do pretty much everything. Trying to thread this yarn through and I completely botched it, but we're back. Kind of hard to see, but I have the gun, I have my little tool, and I personally like to thread through 2 strands of yarn. That way I don't have to go over the same spot multiple times. By doubling up the yarn, I can space out how closely I'm tufting so that I'm not just going over the same part over and over, which can kind of like cause tears and stuff. My yarn is threaded through and I think we can begin. Unfortunately for me, I got super carried away with the tufting because I was just having so much fun, and I got a few more coasters done. I think this is a pretty good amount, but I ended up working on a bunch of those round coasters that I was telling you guys about earlier. Oh. I think so far this might have to be one of my favorite colorways of the round coasters. I think just because it's like earth tony, very green, very brown, very much my kind of colors. But I've been experimenting with some brighter, more vibrant options. This is probably another favorite. What am I saying? I'm probably going to be obsessed with all of these. That's just how it goes. If I'm making it, I'm probably going to love it. But I like that this one has more of like my brand colors, so like the pinks and the greens. The black and gray and white ones are like something else. If nobody snags them, I might end up keeping them for myself. And then just yesterday, I started experimenting with some abnormal shapes, some like asymmetrical coasters, which I think could also be a really fun element to like bring into your home. So now that I have a few of these like slightly larger coasters, I think I'm gonna finish up the rest of the row with more of these abnormal shapes, and then with whatever space is left over, I might only be able to fit like a few more projects down here, because I'm thinking about doing the abnormal shape but a little bit larger. I don't know, I'm just kind of playing around with it, having fun. I should probably do a little reveal because this is the more exciting part. So this is the front side. Ow! I stabbed myself again with the brickies. This is the front side of the coaster. As you can see that it's a lot more fluffy and fluffy and plush. They do look a little bit ragged, and that's obviously because I still have to go in and like shave them down. I'm kind of playing around with the idea of carving out all of the colors. So instead of just like shaving it down flat, I might like go in and literally trace out the color so that it has more of a 3D type of texture. and then doesn't sit quite as flat. I'm sure this is going to be kind of like a learning curve because I've never done it before. I'm just hoping that I don't like completely botch it. Yeah, I thought I'd show you guys a little bit of my progress at the moment. And as we were speaking, I have 3 days until the next market, which means I'm kind of pushing it a little bit close. Okay, hi guys. I haven't really been filming over the last day because my most recent steps were to attach the backing onto all of my tufted pieces. So I have all of my larger tufted pieces right here, some of the other funky ones, some smaller irregular coasters, and this one, and this one, and this one, and then I have all of my circle coasters pretty much right here waiting to go. After I took it off of the frame, I cut out all of the pieces individually, leaving a little bit of a border, and then over like the last 2 hours, I was hot gluing everything. I have the backing applied to literally every single coaster. This also took me a little bit longer than I was expecting. I hate to break it to you, but that part is just, it's kind of boring, at least for me. It's a very repetitive, tedious kind of task, which I didn't really think was worth it to film. But now I am at the really fun part, which is we're gonna shave them down. Now when it comes to the shaving, something that I mentioned earlier in the video is that I'm gonna be attempting to carve out each of the colors. I do have a slight fear that I might like completely mangle and destroy a few of these in the process, but where my head is at on this is just kind of accepting that it's part of the journey, and in order for me to learn this particular skill, I'm gonna hit a few speed bumps along the way, and I'm probably gonna mess up a few of the coasters, which is fine. Nothing's perfect, art isn't perfect. I kind of just have to accept it and get over this like little hesitation. I think I'm just gonna commence the shaving phase. I'm gonna go over everything with like, I think a 3mm. I have a 6mm on right now, but I might change to the 3 so that everything is flat and even. And then once it has been shaved down, we can go into the carving. Low-key, I've been kind of like speed running these projects. As you can see, I just finished up this really fun squiggly rug, very colorful, but this is the first rug that I've been working on pretty much for like the last 2 hours. I'm actually really surprised at how fast I got this rug done. This is my best attempt at tufting so far, like in my entire tufting journey. You can really see how evenly spaced out all of my lines are. I don't really have too many like hiccups. There's like a few spots where it got a little like tight, a little messy, but overall I feel like this looks really good, like almost professional level. And now I'm kind of working on this black, gray, and white version up here. I don't really think I've talked about what I've been doing, but since my last market, I had so much fun making the little tufted pieces that I thought I would really like to bring some larger pieces like these ones to the market. So obviously I have 2 on this one canvas, but I'm thinking that if I get this finished up rather quickly, I would like to do one more like mega rug, kind of like the one I have in the living room. I really forgot just how therapeutic and entertaining tufting has been for me. Like, this is definitely a craft that I want to keep up with throughout the years. I'm just gonna hop back into it right now. I do have to say that for whatever reason, this one is coming out a little bit messier than this corner one. Like, I really had 0 issues with this first one, but now as I'm trying to pull lines on the black and gray one, it's been really messy, very bumpy. I don't know if it's because my canvas is starting to get stretched out, so as I'm tufting, it's not as tight. I don't know if any of you out there would appreciate some tufting tips, but because I'm slowly starting to see improvements, I thought I would kind of give you guys like my 2 cents on what I've been doing differently. Now, one thing that I've noticed is if I'm traveling upwards or in a direction much too quickly, I end up with a lot of these pieces that are really easy to pull out versus really tight stitches like this. I feel like this is what I'm aiming for, where the yarn is very densely packed in there. They're really tight. It's not too like bubbly. It just lays really flat against the canvas. So that's what I'm aiming for. But as you can kind of see, like, there's sections where the yarn kind of like bubbles up, and it makes it really easy to pull on it and pull it out. So my little trick is, instead of like forcing the tufting gun to move really quickly, you kind of need to find like a middle ground where you're not moving up too quickly, but you're not staying stagnant. You kind of want to move slowly, but give it a little bit of pressure upwards. So all of that to say, my tip is to move upwards at a slow and steady pace instead of rushing it to go really fast. Ooh, see, that felt good. See, and this is like a really tight stitch. Okay, not too shabby. Okay guys, I'm back. Please don't mind how messy my office is today. I have whips and yarn pretty much all throughout this room, so we're just going to disregard the mess that I have going on behind me because I wanted to share with you guys some of my finished tufted pieces. Now, as you saw earlier in the video, I was working on some of these smaller rounded coasters, and as you can probably tell, I decided to not carve out a majority of my smaller coasters. So you can see it's not terrible. You can really kind of see more of that textured look, really kind of like make out the waves and the curvatures of the piece. But what I have come to realize is that the smaller the item, or more specifically, the smaller all of the twists and the turns, it becomes a lot more difficult to carve out that piece. So for example, with a tiny little rug like this one, this would be very, very difficult, at least for me, myself as a beginner in the carving stages, to try to carve out all of these twists and turns. I feel like it's just way too much. You can see that I've attempted that carving technique and I don't think it looks bad. I think this was piece number 2 or 3, but honestly I thought that it would just be smarter and more efficient to leave these pieces alone. Now for the big grand reveal, I wanted to show you guys the larger pieces that I was working on. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to film too much of it because I was on that really tight time crunch. But for piece number one, I wanted to show you guys the black and white squiggle. I don't even really know what to call these, but these are like the corner rugs that I'm a really big fan of. As you can probably tell, I also went in and carved out the entire rug. I feel like I can really see my progress looking at this piece compared to these smaller little coasters that I made. I will admit that it does take a lot of time, a lot of patience. Me going into this thinking that carving would only take me like 30 minutes, and in all reality, it's closer to like a 3-hour process. But again, that's just my experience because I'm still kind of getting used to the techniques and everything. But I wanted to bring you guys in nice and tight because I want us all to admire. Now again, she's not perfect. You can kind of see some flaws and mistakes, but I feel like my skills are slowly getting a little bit more honed over time, which is what all I can ask for, honestly. It just looks so clean. It looks a little bit more perfected, a little more chiseled. And overall, it does give the rug a lot more character, a lot more of that like 3D effect. And then finishing up the video with corner rug number 2. I'm really proud of this one. I just love how bright and vibrant all of the colors are. Now, if you'll notice, the squiggles on this rug compared to the rug that I have on the wall are a lot thicker. So I would also say my advice for any beginner tufters out there is to not change your color so much. I think it's a lot easier to kind of get down the technique and practice it a little bit more when you have these thicker, bolder sections to work with. I don't know, I feel like they're just a lot more suited. So let's go ahead and show you guys this one up close. Carving technique is getting there slowly but surely. A few like little hiccups along the way, but overall I really love this technique, and I think as much as possible I really do want to implement the carving technique into all my future rug tufting adventures, which, spoiler alert, but I am already working on another tufting video. So if you want to see more on how I'm kind of creating these pieces and you're just looking for some more cozy tufting content, then it is coming your way. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know what you're doing, why you're lagging, but we have some really fun content coming out. And I'd also love to hear from you guys what kind of pieces you want to see me tufting in the future. So without further ado, me and my rugs are going to close out the video here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all really, really soon. Bye.